Alright, so this video is going to cover the IVIS VFS formula, which is initial volume, initial strength equals final volume, final strength. So this is the way that it's set up, okay? So IVIS, so IV means initial volume, IS means initial strength, FV is final volume, FS is final strength. So what we have here is the IVIS, your initial volume, your initial strength is what we have to work with. It's basically what we're starting out with to prepare the final volume and the final strength, which is what we're trying to make or what has been ordered. So pause here, go ahead and hit pause so you can write down this information. We're going to keep going. So you can see the problems and how they're worked out. All right, so your problem says RX, hydrochloric acid 1%, 120 mLs. So anytime you see something written like this, RX, that means that is what's been ordered. And then it tells you you have a stock solution of 50%. How much of the stock solution is needed to prepare this order? So my suggestion to you is to, on the side, write down your initial volume, your initial strength, your final volume, and your final strength. Okay, so I know this is what's been ordered. So I know my final strength is 1% and my final volume is 120 mLs. That's what I'm trying to make. My initial volume and my initial strength. Well, it says I have a stock solution of 50%. So 50% is my initial strength, but it does not tell me how much of that. So that is my unknown. Okay, so that is X. We're solving for X. We're turning it into an algebraic formula. Okay. Can you open the door for me? Sorry. Thank you. All right, we're losing some light here. So set this up. In this exact formula. So my initial volume is X, my initial strength is 50, my final volume is 120, and my final strength is 1%. Now you're going to multiply on each side of the equal sign. So 50X equals 120. Okay, so we're solving for X. So we have to isolate X and get it by itself. The way to do that is to divide by 50 on each side. We get X by itself. You divide 120 by 50. And you get 2.4 mLs. Okay? So 2.4 of the 50% will make 120 milliliters of a 1% total. Okay? So we're going to do another one. so your next question says you have a stock solution of 4%. Lidocaine. How much stock solution is needed to prepare or make 30 milliliters of a 1%? So initial volume, initial strength. So you have a stock solution. That means that's my initial strength of 4%. It does not give me a quantity, so that's my unknown. My final volume is 30 mLs. My final strength is 1%, because that is what I'm making, to make. That's my final volume, my final strength. So plugging it in, initial volume is X, my initial strength is 4, equals 30 mLs for my final volume and 1 for my final strength. Do everything on each side of the equal sign. So 4x equals 30. I have to isolate my x, which means I'm going to divide by 4 on each side. So 30 divided by 4 is 7.5 milliliters. Okay. So this next problem is giving you different information than what we've been working with before, okay? So this one's a little different. This says, how much 8% solution can you make by diluting 500 mLs of a 20% solution? Okay, so initial volume, initial strength. So this says, how much can you make? So I know that the 8% is my final strength because I'm trying to make that percentage. By diluting, so 500 mLs is my initial volume, and the 20% is my initial strength. That's what I have. So I'm going to dilute the 500 mLs of a 20%. Okay, so how much of that I'm going to use to make 8%? So how much can I make out of this in 8% dosages? So final volume is unknown. Okay, so fill it in. IV, IS equals FB, FS. So 500 times 20 equals X and 8. It's okay if it's on the other side. We still do everything the exact same way. So we have 500 times 20, which is 10,000, equals 8X. So we're still doing the same thing. We want to isolate X, so we're going to divide by 8 on each side, and we can make 1,250 milliliters of an 8% solution out of this. Okay? The biggest thing is paying attention to the verbiage. Okay? When it's written as Rx, you know that's your final volume, your final strength. Okay? You know that's what you're trying to make. If it's a question like this, how much of an 8% can you make by diluting? So it gave you your initial volume, your initial strength. So it's paying attention to the verbiage on how you're going to plug your numbers into this formula. And again, it doesn't matter which side the X is on, we do it exactly the same. It's an algebraic formula. We're solving for X. Okay? If you have any questions, feel free to email or call me.